You're listening to Series 2 of Aunty M podcast, Surviving Self-Care. And we have a new auntie for you today, so let's do this. Listening to the Aunty M podcast. Today's self-care topic is relationships. Taking care of yourself also means managing relationships. From family to friends and colleagues, we all have to deal with all sorts of people, from best friends to toxic wasters. But how do we deal with that? Auntie P is not here today, but taking her place, and I can't think of anyone better to fill those shoes, is my sister from the same mister. It's my sister, Aunty H.
Hello, Mercedes, and
Hello.
Thank you for inviting me on the show.
See? Pro voice, you don't need to worry. So, it's a special day for you today.
It is. I'd like to say it's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
And how nice to share it with you on the day.
Well, this is it, you see. It's nice to, my sister actually lives quite a long way, so it's nice that you come up, stay with me, and we just feed you.
That was fun, and I get looked after, which I like.
Yes, right. So, in Series 2, we've been talking about how to look after yourself, and self-care is something that's very important. We've talked about diets, we've talked about exercise, and we had a lovely guest on last week. We had Victoria, who was talking about ageing, and we felt really inspired by that. But today we want to talk about relationships, and what better than to have my actual sister talking about how your family, how the relationships in your family can then go on to shape relationships in the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Well, we're talking about sibling relationships, aren't we?
Yeah, particularly family relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's where it all starts, isn't it?
Definitely.
So the first thing I have, just sort of a get to know you, Aunty H, I've got 10 questions.
Oh, have you?
And I'm going to ask you, and we've both got to answer for the other person to see if we get it right.
So you want me to answer what you would say?
Yeah.
Okay,
right,
let's go.
Right, here we go. Right. What was their most prized childhood possession?
Oh, you had your Lucy.
Yeah. I would say your Super Ted.
Yes. But you didn't get that for me until I was 18.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Oh, what? No, but what? Okay, yeah, Lucy. Yeah, I've still got my Lucy doll. But what was your most prized? You must still have it because you keep everything.
Well, I've still got my teddy bear.
Oh, yeah, your teddy bear.
Yeah, I've still got that. That was always important that everybody had their teddy bear.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, and I tell you what, I've still got my original 1980s Super Boom stereo that I had in my bedroom that still works.
Does it work?
Yeah.
Is that the red one?
Yeah.
Yeah, see? I know that. Right. Number 2. What did they do as a little kid that was super embarrassing? Now, I have to point out to the listeners, those that don't know us, there's actually 13 years between us. So Hermione's at a bit of an advantage, really, because she saw me growing up from... You were older, so you can remember it all. And I obviously only knew you from... I don't remember you ever being about 17 onwards. What did I do that was super embarrassing as a child?
Well, you weren't ever embarrassing because you were just always so funny.
There you go. You heard it from the source.
Well, because it's interesting, because one of the facts to do with siblings, apparently, is that the last child, as there's like 3 of us, is the funniest. That is a known fact within siblings.
Yeah, well, the first child is always the one that has to take on the responsibility.
Yeah, well, you do know I actually paved the way for you, you know. I took the brunt of everything being the first child, and you just sailed through.
So should we move on from that?
Yeah.
Right. Right, here's one. 3. What sport did they play growing up? None.
I was going to say, if we had video, you could just see my eyes widening. I can't think of any sport.
I was on the netball team for one game.
I was always in goal for hockey.
Yeah. Well, with those of you who were always put in goal, we salute you.
But I wasn't bad at a javelin.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I can see, right, okay. Number 4, what did they want to be when they grew up? Now, you wanted to be a policeman, or a police officer.
That's right. But in those days, you had to be of a certain height. And I was only 5'3", and you had to be 5'4". If I wanted
that little inch.
I know.
Missing that inch.
I know. But yeah, so you couldn't get it. I mean, nowadays you can be anything, and you can get in the police.
Okay, but what about me? What did I want to be?
The centre of attention.
I nearly spat my tea out. It's still true. I'm still striving for that.
I still think, and you do, yes, you generally do get everybody's attention.
Right. Number 5, what kind of treats did they always want on their birthday? Now, I would say what we always got at Christmas. So you always have jelly tots.
Yes, always. And then you always had Cadbury's Dairy Milk.
Yeah. And we still do.
And we still do.
Demand it.
Yeah.
What was their favourite book as a kid? See, I don't know. You've got some books
Yeah, well, of course, I read all the Enid Blyton. That was all when I started reading. I mean, got to remember, there's so many years.
So many years. I wouldn't have.
I
could have been my mother.
Thanks.
Technically. What about me? What was my favourite book?
Well, I'm afraid I wouldn't have a clue.
Mine was Jeremy James, An Elephant Sits on Daddy's Car.
Oh,
and I
yes.
remember crying with laughter about when the elephant did a poo on the dad's car.
Yes, now I do remember that, yes.
Okay, right. What do you do that still drives them crazy? So what do you do that drives me crazy?
I just speak.
What do you do? I think... Do you know what? I think what both drives me nuts and inspires me at the same time is your willingness to complain about... You are not afraid to complain.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, like, excuse me, this is not cooked to how I would like.
Well, that's fine.
I would sit there and eat it.
Yeah, but you'd be unwell and I wouldn't.
But the thing is... I'm sitting there going, oh my God, please stop. I'm so embarrassed. On the other hand, I'm going, this is shit food. Trying to send it back.
So can you say the question again?
What do you do that still drives them totally crazy?
What do you do?
So what do I do to you?
Because any time that I might mention anything, your eyes just open up wide. It's like I've criticised you.
Yes. But I think it's because you're my older sister, and if you point something out, I feel like I have to. You said you paved the ways because you've set the standard, and I feel I've got. If you criticise me, rather than going, "Oh, isn't this lovely?" You go, "Well, your shoes are everywhere, and there's dust."
Well,
I feel like it's.
Well, yes. Well, I suppose being that age, in a way, I was another mother to you, wasn't I?
Yeah. Okay, what is something that completely changed about them as they got older?
Right, well, for me, what completely changed about you was your insight into things in life, and you're really able to vocalise certain situations and put across a really good idea and reasoning about it, and I do like to listen, and I do value those times when we do chat like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose because you've always been so much older, you've always been seemingly so far ahead. But I think
I'm not that old.
Do you know what though? I think something that's changed about you, and not in a bad way, but I sort of see you more vulnerable, and I feel closer to you. because we've been able to open up to each other. Because I always saw you as the older one, like, oh, she's always all right.
Yeah.
But actually,
Yeah.
maybe seeing you in a different light.
Well,
in that
yes,
sense.
because I suppose that given, circumstances in life, I am a bit more vulnerable now, and I know you look out for me a bit more.
Yeah.
Well, that's a nice thing.
Yeah. Right, we've got 2 more to go. What was the one thing about them everyone else commented on when they were young?
Oh, how you used to entertain.
Yeah.
Every visitor that came in the house, you entertained. Nobody worried about Christmas. There was no boring Christmases at all. You were entertainment all day.
Yeah. Still am, if I'm allowed. That's the problem. I suppose you for me were not so much the entertainer, but you were the singer. That's what everyone would say. Isn't Hermione just a wonderful singer?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
That was the thing I think I remember the most.
Definitely.
You doing shows and singing and being sort of the
cabaret and all
cabaret.
that. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, last question.
Okay.
What outfit did they wear all the time as a child that you might still remember?
Oh, my Lord.
I always remember you with massive hair.
Yeah.
Massive curly hair perm.
Yeah.
That was what I remember.
I think I was born with a perm.
Did you come out with the top?
Yeah, I think so, because I felt like I had it so long. And, the perm don't. Because I remember getting a perm. It was so bad one time. My fringe burnt off. Oh, that's not good.
Do you remember we used to have lodgers in Mum's house?
Yeah.
I had one of them permed my hair for me.
No.
But it didn't stick.
You mean it didn't take?
Yeah, it didn't take.
Didn't stick. Right. No, that's not right.
Okay, so we're moving on to the next part of the show. I'm going to get probably a bit more serious now, but the idea of how your family has shaped the relationships in your life and having siblings or not having siblings can change you as a person, and you have to sort of be aware of how those relationships go on to shape you as an adult. For me, having 2 older sisters, did you ever want a brother?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
How do you think having a brother might have changed
dynamics?
Well,
I think I always wanted an older brother. I don't know why. Just wanted an older brother. But apparently, birth order can shape your personality as well.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
So, yeah, but what about you? Well, you got landed with 2 older sisters.
Yeah. I think I would have liked a brother in the middle.
Yeah.
But I suppose that idea that you've got a big brother to protect you. But then seeing my children as brother and sister.
Yeah.
There's no love lost there, is there?
No.
Although saying that, also my son will be quite kind, protecting when he needs to be.
He does know when to step up, I have to say. Yeah. He knows when to step in because he is very kind.
Yeah. But, how do you think... we grew up, our parents separated. I was 9 and you must have been
a lot older.
21.
Yeah, I was.
How do you think divorce... it was very different, but... At that age, you'd had 2 parents together, good or bad, up until that point. How did that affect you at that point?
One, because I was the eldest, I was dealing with, I suppose, parents who would speak to me perhaps in a different way than they would speak to you, because obviously you were about, how old? 9?
I was 9, yeah.
9, but I still really struggled with it. Definitely did when they split up. And people might say, well, it's easier to do it when they're younger and whatever. I think it's hard to do it at any age.
Yeah. this is one of those things where I think it's really important to remember that any trauma that you go through, you cannot compare yourself to other people.
No.
For example, I was talking to somebody, those that you don't know, our mother passed away 18 months ago. And I met a lady in a grief group because it was during lockdown and her husband was in hospital. She wasn't allowed to go in to see him. She wasn't allowed.
That's
whereas
awful.
we had mum at home. But there's no way of saying which one is better or worse.
No.
Because they're both traumatic, and it's the same way for that.
Because when you've got a relationship that's so close to somebody like that, when you are separated and you feel you can't give that support, that's only natural, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, we would support each other through problems and whatever.
I think, you as a 21-year-old, suddenly having your parents break up, even though you'd moved out of home.
Yeah, I had.
But that you still needed that anchor.
Yeah,
as a young
absolutely.
person.
Well, it was that relationship, that continuity in that relationship I'd had since I was little. So I had 21 years, didn't I?
Yeah. Whereas what was different for me, because I was so young, was that sort of being at home and seeing more of the knock-on effect, and then having to do the mum's weekend, dad's weekend,
Absolutely.
2 Christmases and birthdays and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we both had very different lives at that time, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I would have been at that age still, where you're not really thinking about anybody else except yourself. You're still going off and doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
But, but that's siblings.
What do you feel is different between a relationship with your family and relationship with friends? Because I know for a lot of people, friends can feel like it's like a family, isn't it? You're very close to people. But what would you say, in your experience, is the difference between, let's say something happens, good or bad? How is it different, family and friends?
Well, the things with friendships, sometimes when situations arise, we might choose our words differently. Like if you and I had a situation that come up, we would talk about it. We would either disagree or agree or whatever. But when you've got friendships, sometimes you choose your words a bit differently. But what I have, as I've got older, what I have done and what my friends do, which I think is really nice, that we, let each other know that, like I've shown you today, I really love you. It's like, and be able to say that and be very supported by your friends. And I think a good relationship means you can talk about anything. If there's a problem, you can chat to them. And I think that's communication, I think, is the most important thing in any relationship.
Oh, God, yeah. Because obviously the way I often think that when I'm speaking to family, there is also a sort of level of expectation, that you've been, they know you so well, but they also don't know you because you're a different person when you're with friends as well.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I'm perhaps more open with my friends because we can sort of get our frustrations out without feeling, whereas with family, it's not that, I feel stuck with my family, but you have a responsibility, to them, because I think at the end of the day, we're lucky. A lot of people don't have family, but I know if I had an issue and I called you up, you'd be like, I'm there, I'm coming.
Yeah.
What do you need? Do you need money? Do you need me to pick you up? And we're very lucky. There are so many people that don't have that. So I'm never afraid to say something. And I think we ought to...
Some people, even in close family relationships, they're withheld as well. They don't communicate or say. I think it comes back to upbringing. We were always encouraged, Mum would encourage us to be open about what we wanted to say and to communicate with each other and other people. And I think that's why probably you and I are good communicators.
Yeah.
But not everybody's like that because they've not been necessarily been encouraged to. And it's also personality as well.
Oh, yeah. Because, you know, we have a relationship in our family that ended up being quite hurtful. And even though that person was part of our close family, it ended up being better for everybody that we weren't continuing with that relationship.
Well, it became quite toxic, didn't it?
I mean, for those of you, lots of people talk about a toxic relationship, and that's a relationship in which you want it to work, but no matter what you try, you always come out of it feeling exhausted, the energy's gone, you don't feel appreciated or respected, but you feel kind of like a expectation to continue that relationship. That could be a marriage, that could be a family person, and sometimes it's the hardest thing, but it's the best thing to do, is actually to say, look, I'm okay, we just need to leave that there.
Yeah, you sort of draw a line under enough is enough. We've done what we can. Yes, we wish things could be different, but I don't want to spend the rest of my life with that type of relationship.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it takes a lot of strength, but I would say to your listeners, in terms of self-care, I think it's really important that you do look at any relationships in your life that are causing you to feel drained and underappreciated or hurt. Because I think it's really important to say, do I really need that person in my life? Because even though it feels heartbreaking, I think in terms of our self-care, what we've both had from, in this way, it was a sadness of losing that relationship, but it has been much for our own self-care. We've both found that quite liberating.
Yeah, absolutely. And for our mental health, really.
Yeah.
And I think over that has also brought our relationship closer as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here are some tips for coping. Don't try to fix the difficult person.
Absolutely, that's so true.
Yeah, you can't fix. Be present and direct, which I think helps. Do encourage difficult people to express themselves. But again, going back to point 1, don't try to fix them. So you can't fix people.
No. And a bit of my personality is I'm a little bit of a fixer.
Yeah, but we all have that, I think.
Yeah.
We all think, it's like the boys that, you know, girls that go for bad boys.
Oh,
think,
God, yeah.
I can fix him. I'm the one to change him. And you just never are.
No.
Watch for trigger topics.
Okay, what type of trip do you mean trigger topics?
Like, could be talking about money. It could be talking about household bills. Could be talking about responsibilities.
Yeah.
Things that you know is going to trigger them. I mean, but then again, if you never speak about it, you're never going to solve it.
No, but isn't money one of the sort of top ones in relationships with people in partnership, husbands and wives, girlfriends and boyfriends? That's a very...
Money is a big... Yeah, it is definitely a big one. And I think you have to be honest. I think you have to learn to communicate, because if you don't, I mean, I know I've had experience of it. If you don't talk about money issues... you just end up losing sleep. It's a weight on your shoulders.
One of the main words I always think about relationships that has carried me through is compromise.
Yeah.
I think compromise in a relationship goes a long way.
Yeah. The other things for coping is know that some topics are absolutely off limits. It's like people say, never talk about religion or politics.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's not about you, usually. And I think a lot of the time we think it's about us, but sometimes people have other things going on. And the last one is your own well-being comes first.
That's so important.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to put I know with my own mental health, I felt like I'm being a terrible mother, and I had to put myself first and get help, and therefore that made me be more present mother for my children.
Right, and creating a better relationship.
Yeah, it's really important. If you have any thoughts on this, if you've been in a toxic relationship, if you want to share with the show, you can find us at Aunty M Podcast on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, or you can email us at the auntympodcast@gmail.com. So we're on to the final part of our podcast. We're doing quite well, aren't we?
We are, but I just want to mention a little fact
Right,
about siblings.
Yeah.
Just one little thing, because I'm not sure whether our listeners are aware, but you're actually quite little. Right? But it's actually interesting. It's fact. It's to do with birth order as well.
Is it?
Yeah, and the further
It's not
down
my
the line...
fault. It's not my fault.
No. The further down the line, the shorter you are.
Can I just say, both our parents are quite wee people.
What do you mean we?
Like tiny. Not like wee.
They're not tiny. They're average
Dad's
height.
about the size of a tall gnome.
He's 5'7".
I know, well that's still
not
tiny.
tall. Yeah, but it's your tiny hands. I don't understand when you've
wrong
got
with my tiny hands.
you've got tiny hands and tiny feet.
But they've done so much. They've carried such weight.
Anyway, I just thought I'd drop
Thanks
that in.
for that.
So the last section,
The last section is the top gadoogled.
Gadoodle. Now what have you got? Because I've got some.
You've got three. You've got questions about different ones. Right, so my top 3 Googled questions about relationships. Right, we'll do a quick fire one if you've got some as well.
Yeah.
What does a healthy relationship look like? Go.
How to kiss.
Oh, I want an answer, not a question.
Start again.
Jesus, that was coming out. Right. Here are some top questions on Google about relationships. Right, so I'm going to ask you my 3, you can answer, and then you can ask me your 3 that you found, and I'll answer them.
Okay.
Here we go. What does a healthy relationship look like?
There must be loads.
Anytime.
No, I think I'm on a 10-second delay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Dead air. What? I mean, do you know what? I would say people that communicate.
Yes, come down to communication again.
How do you know your relationship is over?
When you don't like each other.
Yeah. You know what? I knew a relationship was over when this guy was in my bed asleep and I was staring at him in the dark going, get out of my bed. I wanted him out of my bed. It was the final straw.
Yes, there have been a few times we've had to rescue you.
Yeah, moving on. How do you get out of a toxic relationship?
That's quite a difficult one because I think we've both had experiences of being in a relationship that has pushed us in the wrong direction and really not made us who we are and sort of weakened us a bit. But we pulled through, we got our strength again, we got our mojo and we got out.
Yeah. I would say if you're in a really toxic relationship, the best way is cold turkey. You've got to just go. Don't respond. No messages, no texts, nothing. No matter what they say, it's never going to get better. You need to just go.
Pack and leave.
Pack and leave. Right, go on then. What's your
Right,
question?
most Googled questions about relationships.
Yeah.
The first one is how to kiss is the most looked up.
Oh, how to kiss.
How to kiss.
And I'd like to point out that practicing kissing on your hand is a waste of time.
You didn't do that, did you?
No, but I know people that did. But is it you meant to put your thumb like a little mouth? And
When was the first time you kissed a boy?
at my 12th birthday party,
No.
and you and Natasha were shooting the water pistol at me through the window.
Oh, brilliant.
That was my first tongue kiss.
Oh. Right, next most Googled question. How to get over a breakup.
Get drunk, have a haircut. That's a start.
Yeah.
That's like in the first week or two. You need that.
Yeah, reinvent yourself.
You've got to you've got to go. It's like the 7 stages of grieving. You've got to go through anger, denial.
Yeah.
You've just got to go through
Get yourself a new lippy, get yourself a new outfit, and, get your rock on.
Do you need to... Sorry, we were interrupted there by the other generation. I think to get over a breakup, you just got to go through it. You can't go over it, can't go under. You just got to go through it all.
You have to, because there is a process.
There's a process. There's no easy way.
Yeah,
What's your last one?
And the last one is when to say, I love you.
Oh, you mean...
In the beginning of a relationship. Oh. Now, this has actually come up recently with one of my friends.
Okay.
Yeah. And as she asked me, is it too soon? I said, well, it is a little bit, even though you might feel it. I felt it after about a month. But actually, what was lovely was the other person turned around and said it to them.
Ah.
So, but when is 2 weeks when you've met somebody?
Do you know what? I remember dating people and it would be about 4 or 5 weeks in. And I used to think, maybe at any time now, do you know what I mean? I would feel it.
Yeah.
And I didn't. But any time I've fallen in love, it's happened within the first week. And I know.
Wow.
But I don't know when I said it. I can't remember when I said it to my husband.
But
I know when I first fell in love with him, because he was pacing up and down his room smoking a cigarette, telling me that he wanted to be a doctor. And it was just, the story was... and I remember standing there going, I love him.
Well, there you go. But
when do you say it? I think you just got to say it. And if the other person doesn't say it back, then you just have to deal with it. Because if you feel it,
say it. But also, love grows.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you agree. Thank you.
Okay, last question before we sign off. How do you feel the love for your husband has changed? Do you think it's changed? Does it grown? Is it
It becomes a bond.
Yeah,
There's definitely a bond there that person knows you so well. He can still get up my nostrils.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what you said to me once, and I said it to so many people. You said to me one time, you said, some days, I hate my husband so much, but I still love him.
That's very true.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to know you can hate somebody, but still love them.
Yeah, because he's really annoyed me. But I know when, when the line's drawn, the love is still there.
Yeah.
But he needs to make me a cup of tea.
Right, yeah. Oh, does he make you a cup of tea in the morning?
Oh.
I insist.
Yeah, absolutely. That's love, isn't it?
Yeah, but also our mum did that and Nanny Kay did that. It was the cup of tea and a biscuit in the morning.
Cup of tea and a biscuit.
I think it's in our DNA.
Yeah.
I think my daughter's starting to get on that train.
Yeah, she told me earlier on she likes a cup of tea.
Right. And on that note, we'd like to thank you for listening. It's been a real pleasure having my actual sister on her birthday.
Thank you for Mercedes for having me. It's been a hoot.
A hoot and a boot.
A hoot and a boot.
Right. Goodbye from me, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully, well, I know Aunty P will be back. Hooray!
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.